And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about more of her best albums of all time. Here's a quick recap of what's coming up. Let's start things off with the album that redefined modern jazz, Chamber Music Society. This one's equal parts classical and cosmic. Imagine a jazz chamber ensemble layered with Latin rhythms, free-flowing vocals, and Esperenza's signature uptight bass guiding it all. The opener, Little Fly, sets a William Blake poem with strings and voice, elegant and ethereal. Then the knowledge of good and evil comes in with a dynamic scatting and lush orchestration, pure sonic storytelling. Really very small plays with time signatures like it's sculpting air. And Wild is the Wind, that one creeps under your skin. It's moody, it's masterful, and it builds to a haunting release you feel in your bones. Fast forward to one of her most innovative albums, Songwrite's Apothecary Lab. This project is more than an album, it's music with intention. Esperenza recorded 12 tracks called Formvelas, each designed to serve a specific emotional or psychological purpose. Think healing rituals meets jazz experiment. Formvela 1 soothes domestic stress with layered harmonies and quiet soul-building instrumentals. Formvela 2, a stunning fusion of jazz and South Asian storytelling. Then you've got a trio with Corey King, Formvela 4, 5 and 6, offering messages of self-love, truth and vulnerability. These tracks swirl, spin and speak directly to the mind. Even at its most abstract, like in Formvela 8 and Formvela 9, Esperenza never loses her mission to connect, to heal and to make you feel something real. And of course Esperenza, her self-titled debut from 2008. At just 23, she was already on Letterman, touring with legends and making Berkeley history. On Ponta di Area, she delivers Brazilian soul with silky vocals and a deep groove. I Adore You is a whirlwind of scatting and percussion. And She Got To You, that's where her songwriting really shines. So that was a bit of insight into what's coming up during this hour, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. We're going for a short break, we'll be right back after that, stay tuned. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about some of her best albums of all time. Let's start with her 2016 album Emily's D Plus Evolution, a complete reinvention of sound and self. After stepping out of the spotlight, Esperenza came back as Emily, her theatrical, fearless alter ego, and delivered one of the most daring records of her career. It's electric, it's packed with funk, rock and performance art. Songs like Funk, The Fear and Judas take you on a genre-blending ride through identity, rebellion and empowerment. And her voice, it's bigger, bolder and bursting with drama. In tracks like Unconditional Love and One, she channels both intimacy and power. Now let's talk about Radio Music Society, the one that brought Esperenza to the masses. This Grammy award-winning album is all about fusion, jazz, soul, funk, even pop wrapped into an accessible feel-good package. She starts things off with Radio Song, a bouncy track that's half satire, half celebration of the pop music machine. Then there's a laid-back beauty of Land of the Free, and the cutie-produced City of Roses which blends hip-hop rhythms with jazz harmony. But the real showstoppers, her dazzling remake of Stevie Wonder's I Can't Help It, and her take on Wayne Shorter's Endangered Species, a total jazz fusion masterclass. This album proved Esperenza could play with the legends and still bring jazz to new ears. And now for something truly magical, 12 Little Spells. Released in 2018, this album is Esperenza's most experimental, spiritual and intimate work yet. Each of the 12 tracks is inspired by a different part of the body, and the project was rolled out over 12 days via short films. It's jazz meets healing energy, poetry and cosmic sound design. Collaborating with her, a top-notch ensemble. Justin Tyson's on rhythmic programming, Matthew Stevens on guitar, laid back, soulful and totally in the pocket. But no matter how wild the sound gets, Esperenza is always the heartbeat of the music. This album is her saying, I can take pop influence, jazz legacy and avant-garde ideas and make them something personal, something real. So that was a bit of insight into some of Esperenza Spalding's best albums of all time, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. We're going for a short break, we'll be right back after that. Here's Esperenza Spalding with If That's True. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. Now it's time for some trending album news. Leno Raphael, the Steinway artist, international headliner, educator and one of the most swinging pianists in the mainstream jazz genre. And she's back with a set of brand new singles. Leno just dropped 4 gorgeous tracks, classics reimagined with heart, finesse and that signature Leno swing. Prelude to a Kiss, a Duke Ellington standard delivered with haunting grace. Old Folks, delicate and nostalgic with emotion in every note. My Foolish Heart, dreamy, romantic and straight from the road. From legendary clubs like the Blue Note and Dizzy's at Jazz at Lincoln Center to major jazz festivals across London, Ottawa and South Africa, this artist lives and breathes the stage. And if you want to catch her live, 2025 to 26 is stacked with shows. October 19th in Apex, North Carolina. October 24th at the Steinway Hall in London, and so many more from the UK to New Jersey to New York and back again. She's teamed up with jazz pros like Wayne Wilkinson, Hilliard Green, Glenn Manby and more. So if you're into jazz that's rooted in tradition but full of life, Leno Raphael's new singles are out now, soulful, swinging and straight up timeless. So that was some trending album news on the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. We're going for a short break, we'll be right back after that. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of Esperenza Spalding's best albums of all time. Stay tuned. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about more of her best albums of all time. Here's a quick recap of what's coming up. First up, a historic meeting of minds. Brazilian legend Milton Nascimento, now 81, teams up with jazz innovator Esperenza Spalding on Milton plus Esperenza. They reimagine his classics with fresh arrangements, soulful duets, and surprise guests like Paul Simon and Leanne de Havas. It's a sound of age meeting youth, wisdom meeting wonder. Next, we go deep with Esperenza's solo. Her project Triangle is a three-part meditative suite built with music therapists and neuroscientists to help you breathe, reflect, and heal. Tracks like Formula 1 and Formula 2 are spiritual, hypnotic, and unlike anything in jazz today. This isn't just a listen, it's a journey inward. And finally, pure live magic. Fred Hirsch and Spalding team up on a Live at the Village Vanguard. From her playful vocals on But Not For Me to their wild Brazilian scat on Loro, this album is intimate, electric, and flat-out stunning. It's jazz chemistry at its finest. So that was a bit of insight into what's coming up during this hour, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. We are going for a short break, we'll be right back after that. Stay tuned. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about more of her best albums of all time. First up, Two Generations, one unforgettable collaboration. Brazilian vocal titan Milton Nascimento, now 81, joins forces with bass virtuoso Esperenza Spalding on Milton plus Esperenza, a soul-stirring fusion of past and present. Across 16 tracks, they breathe new life into Milton's classics like Autobro and Kais. His once ethereal falsetto has matured into a lush, expressive baritone, and when it meets Esperenza's crisp, floating falsetto, pure magic. Guests like Paul Simon and Leanne de Havas add texture to this already rich palette. It's not just a duet album, it's a masterclass in evolution, emotion, and reinvention. Esperenza Spalding's Triangle isn't just an album, it's a healing suite, literally. Built around sound therapy and spiritual tradition, this three-part collection was born in Oregon Gardens, Harvard lecture halls, and late-night jam sessions with neuroscientists. Each song, or Formula as she calls them, is designed to ground, awaken, or heal. Formula 1 centers you. Formula 2 pulls you into the subconscious spaces with conch shells, bone whistles, and layered mantras. And Formula 3 brings you home with a mantra that reminds us life will go on. Co-produced by Raphael Saadiq and released via her Songwrites Apothecary Lab, Triangle shows that Esperenza is no longer just an artist. She's a healer, a guide, a genre-defining force of nature. And now for a very live, intimate, and absolutely unstoppable album with piano legend Fred Hirsch, Live at the Village Vanguard. This is jazz at its most spontaneous and soulful. They kick things off with a cheeky wink-filled version of But Not For Me, with Spalding playfully teasing Gershwin's old-school lyrics. From the lightning fuzz Loro to the tender A Wish, their chemistry is telepathic. And Fred Hirsch, from Leaves of Grass to Breathe by Breathe, he has been pushing jazz forwards for decades. Here he's both poetic and precise. The album, pure live magic, no tricks, no overdubs, just hard chops and deep musical connection. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about Esperenza Spalding, her biography and best hits. We've come to an end of this week's episode of the Jazz Update, so now it's time to recap what we were discussing during this program. So Esperenza Spalding's a bassist, she's a vocalist, she's also a composer. And she made Grammy history when she beat out Justin Bieber to win Best New Artist, the first jazz artist ever to do it. Born in Portland, Oregon, she taught herself violin at 5, picked up the uptight bass, and the rest, straight legend. At just 20, she became the youngest ever professor at Berkeley, before most artists even dropped their debut. But Esperenza, she dropped hers in 2006. By 2008, her sophomore album Esperenza was topping jazz charts for 70 straight weeks. So that was a bit of insight into her biography. Now let's talk about some of her best albums of all time. The first one's a genre-defying masterpiece called Chamber Music Society. It's where jazz meets classical, meets Brazilian soul, meets cosmic creativity. Tracks like Little Fly, a William Blake poem reimagined in sound. Then The Knowledge of Good and Evil drops its cinematic scatting and strings. Next up, this one's deep. Songwrites Apothecary Lab is more than music, it's medicine. 12 tracks or formulas built with neuroscientists and healers to soothe your stress and lift your soul. Formula 1 is calming, Formula 2 is spiritual fire, and the trio with Corey King, Formulas 4, 5 and 6 are full of self-love anthems. It's Esperenza at her most experimental and her most human. Let's take it back, way back to a breakthrough, Esperenza, her self-titled debut from 2008. Tracks like Ponta di Aria blend smooth vocals and Brazilian bounce, while I Adore You and She Got To You showcase that signature combo of uptight bass, scatting and soul. Also, Emily's D plus Evolution. This one, it's a whole vibe. Emily's D plus Evolution is electric, funky and full-on performance art. Esperenza steps into her alter ego Emily and lets it rip on Good Lover, Funk the Fear and the hard-hitting Unconditional Love. So that was a bit of insight into everything that we discussed on this week's episode of the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. And on that note, we've come to an end of this week's episode of the Jazz Update. Don't forget, you can check out the archives of today's program on my YouTube channel, The Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan. So I'll see you again next week. Have a great week ahead.